It's Roger once again, Mudfossil University, trying to explain the process of mud fossilization and why certain things preserve and other things do not. Now, I did this recent, which is called Why Mud Fossils Have No Bones. The Virginia Chronicle, Library of Virginia, number 31, 11th of August 1933, explains there's never been bones found in saltwater wrecks. And I mean, I've seen this everywhere. In the Titanic, there's no bones. They see their suits laying there like somebody should be in it, and there's nothing in there. No. And nobody's ever found any bones in any saltwater wrecks of any particular, years of age. So, why? So I said, well, I accepted this, and I posted about it, and I did a video, and I said, well, this is just the way it is, and that's it. Well, for me, that's kind of hard to accept because why did the bones go away and the organs did not go away? So I did a little deeper searching, and here's what I found. All right, I'm pretty much assuming that everyone knows about bones have marrow inside of them, and they have what's called spongy bone, which is this fibrous-looking bone, and it's infused with blood and marrow and so forth. Now, I started thinking, well, why do the bones go away and the organs and all that business surrounding them and in those areas, the liver and the kidney and the heart and all that stuff doesn't deteriorate in salt water, and why does the bones go away in salt water? So, I know that your body is in a saltwater solution inside of your skin. You're in salt water, 7.23 in that area. Something like that. And your bones are in there too, so why don't they melt in you? Well, here's the key. Around your bones, there's something called periosteum. You see it down here? I don't know if you can see this. Let me get a better picture. Hold on. All right, this picture is by Carlin Iverson. Now, this is typically what is internally in a bone. Now, see this here, this membrane, periosteum membrane, and it's like a blanket. The ancients called it tunica, and it wraps the bones. Now, so I'm thinking, well, you're still inside of this salt condition, but is there something different inside the bone versus outside the bone? And sure enough, it took some digging, but I found that this relates to some other problem, a therapeutic issue in the bone marrow, but it does what I need to get done, which is it explains the reason that the bones deteriorate and the others don't. Look at this now. Surprisingly, bone marrow showed significantly lower pH, which means it can be attacked by salts and sodium. So lower pH and sodium, and elevated potassium levels compared to arterial and venous blood. So it's just the opposite. It's out of a saltwater condition, and that's because it's actually in what they're calling a micro environment. The effect of bone marrow microenvironment. It's in its own little capsule there. Now, the salt invades and turns the bone into source rock, and it creates hydrocarbons, and it dissolves the bone, and this is called source rock, and the petroleum industry looks for this for the source of gases and oils. All right, here it is right here, Schlumberger Oil Field Glossary. Source rock, a rock rich in organic matter, if heated sufficiently, generate oil or gas. And a source rock might have as much as 10% organic matter, while limestones only contain about 1%. And then it goes on. This is source rock, and that's from organic matter, and a lot of times it's from blood. I mean, marine creatures and giants and all of those things decay. They turn into source rock. Now, they can't just sort of melt into the environment. They have to be capped in a certain way, and preserved in a certain manner. And it says right here, under the right conditions, source rocks may also become reservoir rocks, holding lots of gas and shale and gas reservoirs. Right? Preservation of organic matter without degradation is critical to creating a good source rock and necessary for a complete petroleum system. The non-degradation happened because of the giant flood. They were preserved in a manner that kept the hydrocarbons internal in these structures primarily. Some of the volatile organic compounds did leach out gases and so forth, but inside the organic tissues remained. Now they hardened up later, but the ones that were kept way deep in the muds and sealed, they didn't dry out. They're still down there, and they're still in this wet condition primarily, and they call it tender rock. And this is source rock. Now tender rock is, they used to, well, here I'll show you an article on it. Alright, this explains tender rock. And you should go up and see this, watch this video. It's basic mud fossil principles and new courses we're going to be offering soon. They'll be in playlists, and I'll just let this play, because I did make some claims, and this explains all of them. Alright, I made a bunch of statements, I made a bunch of claims, I made a bunch of allegations, and they are true. And I said, well, how can I make that statement? Well, here's how I can make it. It's during the years 1786, 7, and 8, in France, in quarrying stone for the rebuilding upon a vast scale of the Palace of Justice, the stone was a deep gray limestone, which I've been saying over and over and over, calcium carbonate, CaCO3, with impurities, and of that kind which are tender. Tender. That means they were soft. When they... All right, that's enough. You can go and watch this. But they were tender coming out of the ground. It says they hardened. Well, here. Come out of the quarry. They're tender. And then they harden up by exposure to the air. That's exactly what it says. So, you can go up and see this. You should come up and start watching the videos and start to understand what geology and biology and anatomy and our Earth is really constructed of. And you're not going to find this in the regular schools because they don't understand it. Now they say, well, I don't understand it. Well, I say, no, you don't understand it. And I'm right. You have to pay attention to I go to the anatomy. I go deep. I don't go to, oh, it must be igneous, this and metamorphic, that. Oh, yeah, it's mafic, smectite, frosterites. They got names coming out of your ears. They're body parts that turn into stone. That's what they are. And if you go up there and just go up to see mud fossil DNA certified by Harvard and Max Planck, they have found mud containing copious amounts of DNA, and they now agree that mud is saturated with DNA, and that mud, I allege, comes from the mud fossils, which I have had certified by DNA. I've had them certified by an anatomist. I've had them CAT scanned. I've had them checked in every single possible scientific way. They are exactly what I say they are. They are body parts. And the mud that these people, Harvard and so forth, are digging through is the scraps on the ground that could have washed in from anywhere. Mine are the literal body parts, and they are body parts. They're even faces and everything else. So it's time to pay attention to what is reality and not, because it indicates a lot of what they said is wrong. And a lot of it pertains to creation and evolution. And they just cannot accept this. It's time that we force this to be at least examined. If it's wrong, I turn around, I walk away. If it's right, we need to do some thinking.